Hey there, everybody over in the Empathic Mastery Circle. I wanted to come on here specifically because I wanted to share some thoughts that are kind of not quite baked yet. And I didn't necessarily want them to go out into the main world of the interwebs. So I figured I'd come here in our special little Facebook group. If you noticed the title, I was talking about sort of the line between forgiveness and gaslighting. And I'll share sort of the backstory of this. So the other day, I awoke to discover that there was a book review that I had solicited through a like a writers organization, and I was excited about it because I've gotten some really great reviews from different writing organizations, and I was looking forward to this one. And as it came in and I started reading it, I discovered that it was actually really snarky. It was really invalidating. It was actually kind of mean. And it really seemed like I really questioned whether the guy who wrote, and it was a dude, it was a total dude, whether he actually even read everything very carefully. Like, I think he skimmed the book and he sort of cherry picked the things that he disagreed with, and like basically was like, if you believe in this kind of weird woo stuff, then maybe you'll like the book. So, anyway, it took me a couple days to kind of work my way through it. It took me a couple days to just kind of find my feet again and sort of land. But I also felt really shook by it. And so I've really been thinking about a couple things. One is that I've been thinking about RSD, which stands for rejection sensitive dysphoria, which is a trait that is very common for people with ADHD. I also think it's a trait that often affects empaths. And I think that where anybody who is often makes mistakes, who often is sort of not neurotypical and has a hard time sort of functioning in a normal way, can experience a lot of pushback and a lot of criticism. I think I would say what comes first is like RSD is it sort of a biologically wired, like a neurological cognitive thing in our wiring, or is it that we're so used to having negativity thrown at us that we start developing this sensitivity and this quote overreaction to judgment and other people's attitudes? But I was realizing that with RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria, the thing is, as empaths, not only do we have our own inner workings, do we have our own stuff that's going on about how somebody is feeling, what somebody thought, and and how we're responding to somebody not thinking highly of our behavior or of our actions or anything like that and criticizing us. But we also feel and can sense the energy within them that is being projected at us. And I think that that adds a whole other level of intensity to this. So I had gone on to the interwebs. I'd gone on to TikTok. I'd gone on to Instagram and actually posted even a link on Facebook about the book review and just talking about how the irony of this book review was that he was actually demonstrating exactly what I was talking about in the book, and how, as highly sensitive empathic people, we are so frequently told that we are too sensitive, that we are overreacting, that we are taking things too personally, and that and the invalidation of our felt and lived experience is really hard, because many of us, from the time we were really little, have been told that our reality is wrong, and these other people who are often trying to deny their feelings or stuff what's going on are saying, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. There's nothing going on here. Stop worrying about it. Stop thinking about it. This is not real. This is not happening. And so I had recorded this video, and interestingly, it was really funny. I recorded this video. I felt really vulnerable putting it out there because I used a green screen with the actual snarky review behind my head so people could actually read some of it. And I felt really vulnerable. And then for the first like hour and a half to actually like 3 hours that it had gone live on TikTok, it did not get one single view. I was like, wow, talk about blocking visibility here, Jen. And so it was just kind of funny, like how I had taken this risk. I'd put myself out there and then just like crickets. So I woke up earlier today and I discovered, and people had started watching it. And so somebody had left a comment and they had basically made the suggestion that I read the book Radical Forgiveness, because anything that this person was saying about me, or anything that was about, like, basically anything that was coming at me was a mirror of what was going on inside of me and was a representation of my own internal workings and my own internal thoughts. Can I just say, like, and I've been hearing this for years, like I have absolutely, and I'm wondering if you're watching this as the replay, hashtag replay, like, give me a yes, I can totally relate. But I'm wondering, how many times in your life have you been told, if you are feeling angry, if you are feeling sad, if you are feeling jealous, if you are feeling frustrated, if you're feeling fearful, if you're having any kind of emotions, and especially if something is coming up where you're angry with somebody else's behavior and feeling frustrated with how somebody else is behaving, you've had some well-meaning spiritual person come along and tell you, oh, your feelings are because there's something in you that is being activated by that person, and they are mirroring the shadow inside of you. And sometimes people have the understanding that the nuance is not necessarily that, like, if a rapist comes along, or like a perpetrator comes along and is being vicious and cruel, that it's not that there's a vicious and cruel rapist or perpetrator inside of you that is being, reflected, kind of the as above, so below, law of attraction, but more the idea that if we are reacting to something, it is an opportunity to look at the trigger. It's an opportunity to use the experience as a reflection for ourselves to understand what's going on. But the thing is, I think that there are a lot of people who don't necessarily understand the subtlety of that. And instead, they're basically like, well, if you attracted that kind of behavior, then clearly there's some kind of shit going on inside of you. And so I was curious about the book. It's not a book I've read. And so I went and I checked out the reviews, and there were some really holier than thou, like, I am so spiritual, I do not get angry with anybody kind of reviews and stuff. And then there were some people who were just like, this is fucking gaslighty shit. This is like bullshit. It's like, you cannot tell somebody who has been through obscene child abuse or the Holocaust or something else like that, oh, well, you chose this before you were born, therefore you have a life lessons to learn about this, and so it was meant to happen. It's like, can we get any less compassionate? Could we get any less kind about something? I mean, even if our soul agreed to go through an absolute ordeal, it does not mean that the body doesn't suffer. And it does not mean that our ego doesn't suffer. And it does not mean that it isn't frickin' hard. One of the things that I've come to believe and understand is that while we may choose to be born into a certain time and place and agree to the lessons that we've agreed to, I really think it's very similar to college catalogs, courses listed in a catalog. You can read the course description and think it sounds great, but you have no idea what the lived experience is going to be like until you immerse yourself in it. And when we use these kind of, well, it's a mirror of your stuff and you chose this, it feels so tone deaf to me, and it feels so colorblind to me, because it feels like it's only acknowledging one aspect of something, and it lacks mercy, it lacks compassion, it lacks kindness, because we need kindness. Like, kindness is really, in my opinion, the most important thing. And so when somebody comes along and they leave a comment on somebody else's Facebook post or Instagram post or TikTok post or whatever, and they're like, you need to read this thing because you're obviously triggered. It's like, and how is that comment helpful for anybody? If somebody's triggered, the most effective response is not to say, you're triggered and you need to deal with your shit. It's like the most effective response when somebody's in that space, when somebody is activated, when somebody is triggered, is to be like, wow, that sounds really hard. I'm so sorry that you went through that experience. What are you learning from it? What are you noticing about yourself with it? How are you taking care of yourself through it? That's what we want to be talking about. That's what we want to be asking. That's what we want to be putting out there. Not this attitude of like, well, clearly you're still triggered about this stuff. And I also want to say that sort of the lower octave of the, anything that happens is a mirror of something that is within us. I think there are a lot of people who actually believe that if like darkness happens or a perpetrator comes along and abuses us, that somehow there's some kind of perpetrator within us. Like there are people who see that idea or that concept of the mirror as meaning that we are mirroring each other identically. And what I would like to say is that I think that's very, very harmful, because what it does is it takes the victim and the perpetrator and it puts them in the same role. It basically is implying that there's no distinction, that there's no difference. And it's a really, really effective way to gaslight people. And so, this book, Radical Forgiveness, that was suggested to me because I got a snarky book review and I commented that ironically, the attitudes that were coming at me from this book review were exactly why I wrote the book. Not exactly, I don't think I had a chip on my shoulder. I actually think I was just sort of stating a fact. But the response that I got was it was so gaslighty, because I was basically told, you really should read Radical Forgiveness because, obviously if like you're having any kind of reaction at all to this nasty book review, that somehow, you need to do your work. And it just felt so incredibly tone deaf to me, but it also just felt really gaslighty, because I'm like, what does this mean? Does this mean that we're never allowed to be angry when somebody behaves like a complete asshat? Does this mean that when we go through absolute horrible things, that we can't be frustrated, that we can't be grieving, that we can't be scared, that we can't be sad, and also that we can't hold people accountable? And, the thing is, in my experience, forgiveness is not about letting somebody else off the hook. Forgiveness is not about saying, oh, yep, okay, I see my part in it. I get my part in it. I take 100% responsibility for showing up, even though I was a toddler, even though I was an infant, even though I had these experiences, because my soul chose this. I agreed to this contract. Therefore, I forgive you for, causing me incredible harm. Can I just say, that's fucking bullshit. That is fucking bullshit. And part of what I believe we as a species and as a planet really, really need right now are substantially better boundaries. And that we do need to do the work of healing our triggers, healing where we get flummoxed, healing where we get pulled off center, and understanding why something is triggering us, why something is setting us off, as well as the invitation to claim our power, to step back into our power. But it's not meant like this is not about owning things that are not ours. And so much of the work, in my experience, of being an empath is about recognizing what's mine, what's not mine, and giving back the stuff that is not my responsibility, and letting other people take responsibility for their journey, for their process, for the stuff that they are doing. And sometimes that means saying, no, this behavior is on you, not on me, and things need to change. So I could go on and on and on, but I just wanted to jump in here because this is not just to say I didn't just create this as a safe place for you guys. I created this as a safe place for me too, where I could actually speak some stuff that I'm not necessarily going to be putting out on the general interwebs. And I just wanted to, like I said, this was kind of half baked, and I kind of wanted to just like talk a little bit and kind of sort it out. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. If you do have a chance to catch this replay, hashtag replay, let me know what you're thinking. Let me know how this lands for you, and how do you reconcile that dance between forgiveness and gaslighting, and forgiveness and also holding people accountable. Well, that's what I got for right now. I am hoping that you are having an absolutely wonderful weekend. And if you are here in the Northern Hemisphere, happy almost spring. And if you are in the Southern Hemisphere, happy almost autumn. Okay, that's everything I got for you for right now. I am sending you so much love, so much appreciation. I'm really, really glad you're here. And I'm probably going to come back sometime in the not terribly distant future and talk about. I'm doing an experiment. I'm doing two experiments right now. I'm doing the experiment for taking a mindful pause before eating, but I'm also doing another experiment, which is that I've decided to try like a 90-day TikTok challenge where I'm just posting a video every single day. Let me tell you, it is rocking my empath world in terms of how I am feeling energetically with a new set of eyes on me. It's like I've calibrated to Facebook, I've calibrated to Instagram, I've calibrated to YouTube, I've calibrated to certain places where I feel like, okay, I kind of know what's watching me, what's going on. But now that I'm engaging with TikTok in this new way, I'm like, oh my God, I have to recalibrate. So I will absolutely talk more about this. Hopefully you guys want to hear me talk about it. But I plan to talk more about this in the days coming. In the meantime, I hope you have a lovely, lovely Sunday evening. If you are here in a time zone where it is evening right now, otherwise, may you have a lovely day, a lovely morning, a lovely late night, whatever time it is for you. I am just sending you big, big love. Thank you so much for listening and for being here with me. I'll catch up with you later. Bye-bye.